Hi. We have someone in our family with Crohn's, and she was vegan prior to having Crohn's just a little while. And when she got diagnosed with Crohn's, she was very severely bad, and her gastroenterologist put her on Humira shots and also pills, and she's still on both. And she's very well controlled as far as her symptoms are concerned. Now, when you cut back on like diabetic things, you can say, okay, my sugar, you can test your sugars and see how you're doing. But with that, it's a little bit scary taking her off medication. She has a gastroenterologist that would freak out if we even mentioned that, to try to take her off the medications, and he would probably wash his hands of her. So we're wondering where we turn as to how we cut back, or if we can, and what advice we would get in that regard.
Okay, thank you for the question. You're talking about, I just will repeat it because I don't know if everybody could hear it. You're talking about patients that had Crohn's disease, and prior to having Crohn's disease, she was vegan, she was plant-based, and nevertheless, she got Crohn's, and then she got treatment, Western treatment, some medication, which stabilized her. And now she feels at least stable. And you raised the question whether we need to really shy off from the medication. And thank you very much for this question, because I'm a physician that I'm completely for Western medication. The medication is based on science. And that's one of my, I would say, objections to part of these movies that you saw here, where they talked about the chemotherapy. And I don't say that chemotherapy is good in general. I don't say it's bad, but I can say one thing. The medication, the Western medicine works very hard to find the right solution to all these diseases that we are talking about, and we have fantastic successes in some cancers that were abolished completely, and including, if we are talking about Crohn's disease and so forth. Don't forget, and here I want to answer your question about the cancer. Don't forget, cancer is a multidimensional disease. It's not a one thing. It's not, if someone thinks that only by changing diet they can conquer cancer, it's really a naive thinking. You need to do much more than that. That's why I hope that many more physicians as well look at the holistic approach. It's not about just giving you medication. It's not about changing lifestyle. It's about the whole thing. It's about how you see the world. It's about how you feel. You know, how much depression and anxiety can affect diseases. That's why when I practice, I involve all these dimensions. I have a whole day only for psychotherapy. Only for psychotherapy. I don't do any other things. And you know what? And one of the things that can affect you, and we are talking about cancer, is relationship. You need an excellent relationship with your, not only with your environment. What about your spouse? What about your friends? That's the environment. That's where we live. That's where the cancer lives. So yes, cancer is a natural process, and I completely agree. But what happened is it went out of control. When it goes out of control, when the immune system goes out of control, then we have cancer.
And if you're feeding the cancer with animal protein or making that environment more hospitable to the growth of cancer, that's one of the triggers where we can get into trouble.
I completely agree. And it's not the only one. The idea is to look at the person, everyone is different, but look at the person in a holistic approach. It's medical, social, which is really important. How your social environment is intervening with your life. How you live with the other people in your life. That makes a huge difference. How many of the doctors that you went talked about your social life? About the relationship? Okay? That's important. Keep it in mind. That's the ground for cancer. That's the ground for chronic diseases.
The one thing too, with respect to, we, in the years that we've been doing outreach and speaking with other cancer, diagnoses, I think the one item is that be your own advocate. Know, regardless of what you choose to do, what you look at, which treatments, certainly that is something that each individual has to look at as to what they want to do. And then again, there's no guarantees. Like I say, is it a silver bullet? No, but there is strong scientific data indicating with respect to response to chemotherapy and radiation, whole food plant-based diets lessen the side effects to chemo and radiation, and they also increase the responses. One of the recent researches that's being conducted, we've been hearing a little bit more about this, is gut biomes and your flora. We're already looking at treatments that's referred to as fecal transplant treatments for other things such as C. difficile. Our trial study nurse forwarded us a recent research paper that's being done right now with respect to increasing the responses of immunotherapy drugs and with the addition of fecal transplants. Now, who are they getting these fecal samples from? Who has the best gut flora? Plant-based eaters. So it brings to looking at it, we kind of have this ass backwards, pardon the pun. You can look at ingesting these phytonutrients and these things that will improve your gut flora, or you can look at the 11th hour and try and correct it by introducing somebody else's
Shit.
So, but and then again too, this is on the East Coast, this one particular clinic, they are purchasing fecal transplant materials. The gold standard is whole food plant-based individuals.
So there's some motivation.
But again, yeah, there's, we have never, and again, the individuals in this film, and I have to go back to Dr. T. Colin Campbell, this individual who has been at this for decades. And again, too, we've researched quite a bit, too, looking back to even back into the early, 1900s, 1910, 1907. Even earlier, as to what some of the findings were with respect to comparing plant-based proteins versus animal proteins.
With all due respect to the fecal content, I can tell you one thing in addition to whole food diet that help you. And you know what it is? What you are doing here.
Yes.
To have a purpose.
Yes.
Yes.
To have a purpose, to have a meaning in your life, to be passionate about it, to share with other people. And that's the main remedy. If you can reach to that level, that will, and I promise you, I'm not the only one, but I can promise you that that will change your life. Back over.
Well, you know, our mind, body, spirit, emotions. And so what he ended up doing was he
on the Gator app. We love to support the whole thing. So thank you so much for bringing that awareness and sharing that, because that's so sweet.
So Joe, invite her next time to be the
How are we doing? How are we doing for time, Joe? Or okay, ma'am, and then Stephanie again. Go ahead, ma'am.
I was just wondering if you guys could share a little bit about the social aspect of your journey. Like right now, like my family at home is trying to make some changes. I really struggle with our parents and our family dinners and our get-togethers. You know, I'm just wondering how that journey kind of went for you.
Well, I'll just say quickly about our journey, and then Dr. wants to talk about it as well. I guess in kind terms, I would say I'm aggressive. And my parents are plant-based, Dan's parents are plant-based, our kids are plant-based, 3 of my coworkers are plant-based, my neighbors are plant-based, my best friend is plant-based. So if you want to be in my social circle, you better be plant-based.
That said, though, I think we're very fortunate now, again, with the advent of the Canada Food Guide, it's opened up the floor to us to have a solid platform to start discussing it. Now, again, with the introduction of the Canada Food Guide, and then with the proliferation of plant-based products in restaurants and food purveyors, it's in the daily conversation now. Plant-based is a term that people are starting to hear more and more. So it gives us the ability to discuss it in a calm, rational fashion, and people aren't flipping out anymore, or less, hopefully. But it is, it's
And you have to come from a place of love and compassion, for sure.
yes.
And never be pious, because we were all eating those things.
Very few of us
For
were
sure.
born plant-based people.
Thank you. So I'm not aggressive. My wife is vegan. My 3 children, no, the middle one is vegetarian, and the other 2 are vegan. And that's about it. So, and several of my patients became vegan. And I can tell you that the social aspect is very close to my heart. How to deliver the message. And I'm really sensitive to those vegan. I know that it's not you. You're coming from a compassion place. But there are some vegans that are really coming with a very aggressive way, and they push away people. Okay? I'm talking about how to deliver the message. And actually, that's where Toastmaster was founded. Our group in Toastmaster, the Health Awareness Toastmaster. How to deliver the message without offending anyone, without pushing it too far, and to do it in a nice way, in a compassionate way. And if you are interested in that, just send me a message. You have in your card. Just keep your business card for Toastmasters. Send me a message that you want to get information. I will send you information regarding Toastmaster, and you will be in. You can come as a guest. It doesn't cost you money to come as a guest. If you want to become a member, it's not for profit organization. It's really peanuts. It's less than $4 per meeting. It's nothing. But you learn so much. You learn how to express yourself in a non-aggressive way, in a way that will leave an impact. And that's what matters. Because we want more and more people to join out of compassion rather than under duress.
I think the food speaks of itself as well. Good food tastes good no matter
When was the last time that you heard the food speaking?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say too, if I can add anything, the only diet that actually ever been shown to associated with longevity is a low-calorie diet. A low-carb diet is associated with much higher mortality. So a lot of people get hung up with low carb. It is associated with much higher mortality. Second thing is I wanted to say is that I've been following another physician. You guys saw him on the cruise too, Dr. Neil Barnard. You go Google it on YouTube, you will see tons of his lectures, and there's lots of information available. His website is pcrm.org, and actually there is a ton of information on there. If any of you are drivers or have a lot of time to listen to podcasts, there's an amazing podcast called The Exam Room. Go and download it. There is tons of information on there. And that's that's just one of different, whole bunch of different plant-based type of podcasts that's available. I don't kid you, I always listen to that. And it's very simple. It talks about cheese, eggs, you name it, and amazing success stories on there. Okay?
And PCRM, which is Physicians Community for Responsible Medicine, also has a fabulous 21-day jumpstart.
Yeah.
And it starts on the 1st of every month. You can sign up for free, and they send you recipes, grocery lists. There's little videos on how to cook the food, tons of information. And again, it's free. They just,
I think that app, actually, I understand there's an app that
Yep.
you can download on your phone.
Yeah.
Yes.
You used to buy it, but now somebody sponsored it because they're so passionate about it. You can download it on your phone and you get it for free.
all for free. So, I mean, it just like, it's called Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, so PCRM.org.
And then if anybody's really a real data, scientific, evidence-based geek, there is a new scientific journal that has been created that is taking in all the most recent scientific research that's being conducted, and that has been organized by the Plantrition Project, which is organized by one of the physicians, Dr. Stoll, and I forget the acronym of it, but you're seeing a lot about it. There's the full journal that you can subscribe to, and there's also a digest, and not like we're all familiar with the Reader's Digest book, so there's now a digest form of this new journal it's a journal of disease reversal. It's a fabulous project that was just incepted just a few years ago because they want to gather up all this data and information. It's the democratization of information, where we don't have to rely anymore on advertising and marketing. We can seek out, always research, follow the money, but there is good information.
If you want something in addition to these resources that you just heard, which are fantastic resources, you have Dr. Michael Greger,
Yes.
which I know that many of you know already, nutritionfacts.org, and he also gathered information from many sources and put it together in a very humoristic way, I can say, in short videos, about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, and it's an amazing way to learn a lot about the food that you eat.
Yeah, and so I guess in conclusion, I wanted to add as well, we do have Sean's recommended reading list. That's a very lengthy, she essentially about 8 years ago, she was an avid, voracious reader of fiction. And when we started getting into this lifestyle, and particularly when I got ill, she hasn't read fiction in 8 years. So we do have the list. There's excellent material on it, and we work involuntary with the producers of Eating Your Life. So we do have copies of the film as well with us tonight. It's a fabulous film to share with family. When you talk about getting together, it's a very non-confrontational presentation of these issues that, when you talk about having, discussions with people, it's a good icebreaker.
But mention that not everyone can read all the list.
Yes.
Instead of,
No, there'll be a test.
Yes, so those that can, they are really blessed. But those, if we divide it between all of you, and you come you come to Toastmasters.
There you go.
And you present what you read.
Yes.
And that's
Sharing.
Just sharing it.
Yeah.
And we can really do a fantastic collaboration between all of us to cover all these fantastic resources.
And then speaking with respect to this ladies' issue or questions and comments with respect to our spirituality, our mindset, there was one book that one of the first ones that I read when I was capable of reading, actually in the first days recuperating from surgery, was Radical Remission, Surviving Cancer, which was a fabulous read. And with respect to this one physician who studied hundreds of cancer survivors and came up with a list of commonalities in the top 9 as to what they were when she interviewed all these individuals. And again, in the top, of course, there was spirituality, social life and social circle, and plant-based lifestyle was high up there in the top 3. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so I don't know how much commonality she gave. There's one more
intuitively, I completely agree with you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, thank